5 separation. My wife cheated on me once. Once was enough. I'm sure she thought she had it under control and was very surprised at how I handled it. The developments were the usual story. Married 15 years, things got pretty boring. We grew distant from each other, spending time in the same house, under the same roof, but in different rooms. She became distant from me. At some point, I noticed that we were no longer partners, no longer confidants, no longer lovers. She left too many clues. I did some recon and did a little digging. Turns out she was having an affair, at least an emotional one. She started complaining to me. It was normal, and I stopped listening to her complaining and bullying me for years. Now, with this new evidence, I not only heard her, I listened. She was unhappy with our marriage. She had fallen out of love with me. That much was clear to me. If I tried to bring up the subject that she was wrong, that we could fix our love, that I loved her and we could repair our marriage, she would just distance herself from me even more. She just looked at me, and in her eyes I could see another bridge between us crumbling. Away with all of this, I said to myself as I finished my beer. I replayed our last argument over and over in my head. I tried to find a way to get her back. After all, she was mine. It seemed to me, I thought to myself, that every time I tried harder to get my wife back, she drifted further away from me. I sat up late into the night, letting my wife sleep in our large family bed while I nurtured my hurt feelings. Somewhere along the way, my brain turned on and a new way of thinking kicked in. Why was I arguing with her about how she felt? Really, why was that? In that moment, I realized that everything my wife was telling me was true, a truth that I couldn't just ignore or talk her out of. She was telling me how she felt, and here I was, arguing with her, telling her that she was wrong, that she didn't really have those feelings. How stupid was that? How can you tell someone that they are wrong about their feelings? Well, it would stop right away. What she felt was what she felt, so why argue about it? So what did I feel? That's weird. No, actually, it was strange because as I sat in the dark on the couch thinking about my recent relationship with my wife, I realized I was unhappy too. I wasn't sure I loved her anymore. I was in love with the idea of still being together and being married to my loving wife, but that wasn't reality, was it? That eureka moment struck me. It took me a while to put it all together, but now I had a plan of action. Whether it would work or not, at that moment I didn't care, because now I knew that what I was doing and what she was doing wasn't working. What does that mean? The definition of insanity is trying to do the same thing that didn't work, over and over again thinking it will work. I smiled, tossed my beer bottles in the trash, and decided to sleep in the guest bedroom. It's all part of the plan. Frank? Linda opened the door to the guest bedroom and flicked the light switch to deprive me of sleep. Why are you sleeping in the guest room? I squinted against the light until my eyes got used to the bright light. I stayed up late. I didn't want to disturb you, I said. She looked at me and then wandered into the kitchen to get coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, as I was blessed with the ability to wake up and be alert immediately. I jumped in the shower and prepared for a confrontation. I had a springy step today. Linda sat down across from me in the living room. I sat in my usual pose on the couch. Linda had her fists clenched. She was anxious, and I sensed she was preparing to say something to me. Frank, she began, this isn't working. I feel disappointed and confused, and I don't think I love you anymore. I sat there looking at her. She paused, then continued. Frank, I know we've been together for a long time, but I think we should get a divorce. The word hung in the air. I smiled as she looked at me nervously. That sounds good, honey, I said. She blinked. Frank, did you hear me? I nodded. Yes, of course I heard you. You don't feel like things are working. You don't love me. You want a divorce. I agree. Do you understand? Now she was alarmed. I got up and walked over to her. I knelt down in front of her. Linda, I can't change the way you feel. You don't love me. How can I argue against that? Can I tell you that you're wrong? No, you don't love me. Well, to be honest, there were many times in our lives when I didn't love you either. If you feel you can't live with me anymore, well, again, how can I argue with that? Linda looked at me like I was crazy. However, in the back of my mind, I could see that she was nodding at my keen ability to realize that what she said was true, and she appreciated it. Wait, you said you didn't love me? She asked. There have been times, just like you. She got a little flustered. In all the time she had been playing out this little scene in her head, she never expected me to react like this. I loved seeing her emotions reflected on her face. Well, I said, anything else? I have to leave tonight, so I'd like to settle this now if you don't mind. You're leaving right now? I stood up and started to put on my jacket, getting ready to leave. No. Frank? Where are you going? I'm leaving. I think I'm gonna hit a few bars. I think I might start looking for someone else instead of you right now. I waved goodbye and left her sitting in the chair with her mouth open. I stopped at the right bar. There I grabbed a bourbon and sat down at one of the tables away from the crowd. I pulled out my cell phone and put another part of my plan into action. I called my friend from work. Jessica worked with me in my department and was known as the company gossip girl. Playing the role of the poor, abandoned husband, I solemnly relayed to her the conversation I had had with my wife, particularly how she had stunned me by asking for a divorce. The reason I called her, not the real reason, was that I was at a bar, drowning my sorrows in whiskey, and might not show up for work the next day. I could hear the wheels turning in her head as Jessica and I flirted at work from time to time, and she was lonely. The next thing I knew, Jessica invited herself over to my place for a date for the evening, under the pretense of looking out for me and being the friend I needed while I was in such an emotionally fragile situation. I met Jessica at a bar that I knew my wife and her friends frequented. Was I concerned that someone might see me? No. My marriage was apparently over. My wife didn't love me, and frankly, right now I didn't love my wife Linda either. Jessica looked good. She arrived quickly, nicely and attractively dressed. Maybe she wanted to get to me before anyone else had a chance. At least that's what I wanted to believe. But when she saw me, she was a little surprised that my body language and mood didn't match the news I had given her over the phone. The smile on my face wasn't helping either. Frank, what's going on? She sat down next to me with a frown on her face. I raised my hand and pointed to my ring finger, which was now exposed. She wants a divorce, that's how she feels. Why should I fight it? I beckoned to the waiter and ordered myself another. Jessica ordered her usual Cosmo. Frank, you seemed more broken on the phone. Jess, we haven't been happy for a while. I finally realized that maybe I don't love her the way I used to. She wants this divorce from me, so guess what? I'm not going to fight it. She wants out? Fine. I'm not going to lie alone, forgotten, and unloved. Jessica took a big sip of her cocktail. She sat back and looked at me. I realized now that I was having an effect on this woman. Whatever my attitude was, I noticed that it was confusing her. Shall we dance? I didn't wait for her answer. I just grabbed her hand and led her to the dance floor. Frank, what are you going to do? I pulled her tighter against me. I'm going to give her everything she thinks she wants. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Right now, I want to dance with you. In fact, I've wanted to dance with you for a long time. Now I can do it. She looked me in the eye and smiled. If you're trying to get back at her? I raised an eyebrow. Maybe. She pressed her whole body against me, feeling nice and warm. I'm fine with that, she sighed. We'd lost track of time. It was so nice not to have to worry about calling home to let Linda know when I'd be back. Jessica was fun, smart, and we flirted all evening. She was my everything. She knew it. I knew it, but I didn't take her with me. It was really nice to know someone wanted me, though. My wife hurt my ego and Jessica backed it up. Moreover, I'd say Jessica was a more attractive woman than Linda. We kissed in the parking lot outside her car. I opened the door for her and smiled. "I'll see you at work tomorrow." She nodded. I made it clear that I needed some fun right now, and I wasn't about to nail another woman. In my not-so-sophisticated sense that Jessica understood, I was now looking for someone for myself. I'm sure that by the end of work tomorrow, all the women in the company will know it. I'd like to tell you that I'm a quiet man, but the truth was that I was looking forward to rubbing Linda's nose in it a little. "Where have you been?" Linda snapped at me when I walked into the house. She was in bed, but as soon as she heard me come in, she came out to see me. I put my coat away in the closet and started to undress before going to bed. "Taking a walk," I said. "I told you I was leaving. Why should you care?" "Yeah, Frank, I was a little worried that you might have done something bad to yourself." I smiled at her. "Linda, I know how you feel. I'm okay with that. You want a divorce? I'll gladly give you a divorce. I'm far from forcing you to live your life with someone you no longer love." I grabbed my pillow and clothes for the next morning and headed for the guest room. "Frank?" Linda hesitantly called out to me. I stopped, shifting my things into my other hand. "What?" She cast her eyes downward. She couldn't look me in the face. "It's incomprehensible to me. I mean, you don't have to sleep in the other bed." "Are you suggesting that you sleep in the other bed? Move out of our bedroom?" I didn't want to make it easy for her. She awed and brushed away a tear. "Yeah, that's not what I meant. I mean, you can share a bed with me. I mean, if you want to. If you don't want to, well, I guess I could move to another room." She was excited. The thought of actually moving out of her bedroom was something she had never expected. She held her breath in fear that I would make her do just that. I put her out of her misery. "Well, this bed is more comfortable. I'll stay here with you if it won't cause you too much trouble." Her face brightened up. "Oh, yes, that would be fine. I mean, it's not a problem for me." "Good then," I said, and threw the pillow back on the bed. She wanted to talk, but I was too tired and told her to go to bed. We'll have time to talk later. And indeed, by the next night, I had been proposed to by 3 other women at work. I even had a friend who gave me his sister's number. She was a widow and was having a hard time finding someone to date. I made dates for the upcoming week with all 4 girls, and I also did it again with Jessica. I purposely left tonight free as I had to talk to Linda. We needed to work things out. I guess she needed to get on with her life. I went back to the house and confronted Linda. "Carol saw you at the bar last night. She said you were with a woman. Who was she? What were you doing together? Carol said you two were very comfortable with each other." I could have exploded at her. I could have yelled at her, called her a cheater for going out, talking to men, neglecting me, distancing herself from me, but I didn't. I smiled and told her I would answer her questions after I changed. She tried to challenge me, but I ignored her and went to change into my house clothes. As I got comfortable, I noticed Linda was staring at me intently. She was ready for a fight. Her eyes were close to tears, but her body was tense with rage. "It was Jessica, from the job I work with," I told her. I didn't deny it. I'm sure she thought I was going to start lashing out, but I didn't. "What were you two doing together?" she asked accusingly. I looked at her and simply said, "We were on a date." "On a date?" she shrieked. I nodded and still sat calmly in my seat. "You have no right. We're married. What makes you think you can do that?" I stood up, grabbed a drink from the kitchen, and sat down again. She was still standing there, staring at me intently, waiting for my answer. "Why should you care?" I asked. She stared at me with her mouth hanging open. "We're married. You want a divorce, don't you? She nodded, unsure of her voice. You said you don't love me, didn't you? I said I'm not in love with you, she corrected me. And I agree with you, Linda. You're not in love with me anymore, so why don't I go and seek love from someone else? You want a divorce. You don't love me. What's in it for me? What incentive do I have to stay here with you? She sat down, actually slumped in her chair. What will people say? Don't you realize what that looks like? Right now, Carol is blabbing all over town about my husband dating some cheating woman. Don't you dare call Jessica a cheater, I roared. She was the perfect lady and I was a gentleman last night. She knowingly went on a date with a married man. I call that cheating. So, I said angrily, standing up and strutting around the room in front of her. She's not married. And if she is a cheater, what would you call a married woman who knowingly dates other men without her husband's knowledge? Linda stared at me. There was nothing she could say. I could see her mind working. How much does he know? She thought panikedly. What does this have to do with me? She exploded. I just looked at her. The time stretched on endlessly. I remained silent. She saw it in my face. I knew it. Her body started to shake. Know how much you know. Enough, I blurted out. Whether you slept with them or not, I really don't care. You see, my dear, this marriage ended when you decided to take me out. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm moving on. I'm going to take care of myself, considering I don't get any support from my wife at home. I got up and went to the kitchen. Dinner wasn't ready. I decided to make something for myself. She could cook for herself. A little while later, she came into the kitchen and watched me finish my dinner. I'm sorry, she said to me. I put the dishes away and turned to her. I'm sorry, too. I think you should know that I have plans for the rest of the week, so don't expect me home early. If you prefer, I can sleep in the guest room. She didn't answer me. I went upstairs to go to bed. I decided to sleep in the guest room. I'm sure Linda didn't sleep well. I met Christina after work. She was a cute blonde, about 35, divorced with 2 kids. We chatted over coffee and then did something really stupid. I took her to play Laserta. It's a team-based military tactical game using safe laser weapons and sensors that record hits. The sensors are placed on vests, helmets, or armbands. Yes, it was us. 2 adults against 10 teenagers who all turned on us and proceeded to destroy us at the start of each game. Christina loved it. I loved sitting and talking to her after we were killed, waiting for the next game to start. At some point during the last game, we both got killed. We both fell side by side and pretended to be dead. I pulled her to me as we lay there and kissed her. She kissed me back. Then we had a nice dinner. And soon I was walking her back to her house, where we kissed goodbye. She said goodbye to me before we moved on to something other than kissing, and took my promise to ask her out again soon. I expected another run-in with Linda when I got back, but strangely enough, she was subdued. Hi, she said. I smiled and greeted her, undressing after the date. Looks like you had a good time, she told me. Her emotions were hidden. That's right. Thanks for noticing. How was your evening? We talked. For the first time in months, we sat down and talked late into the night. I listened to her, and she listened to me. I've never had sex with anyone else, Frank. I swear to you, she admitted. I had kissed a few men and shared my thoughts and feelings with Justin at work. He wanted more from me, but I wasn't ready. Linda, I'm sure we're both to blame for this, but even though you didn't actually have sex with anyone else, you still cheated on me. We were a team. I'm glad you held back from cheating on me before asking me for a divorce. I really respect you for that. I should have listened to your feelings, but instead I started arguing with them. Yes, she agreed. We sat in silence for a while. Frank, I'm confused right now. I don't know if I want a divorce. I smiled. Let me know when you figure it out. I'm not kicking you out of the house, and I don't intend to leave anytime soon. Frank? I was up and about to go to bed. Are you still going out with Jessica? Yeah, I'm seeing her now, and the others too. Do what you want to do. Figure it out. I have to do what's best for me. If we get divorced, well, then it wasn't meant to be. I headed for the guest bedroom. She followed me in and stopped in the doorway. Frank? I turned around to see her as I took off my shirt. Would you come back to my bed, please? I hesitated. Do you think that's wise? Tears flowed from her eyes. I don't know. I just want to be with you right now. I held out my arms to her and she threw herself into them and sobbed. She was confused. She didn't know what to feel. I carried her back to our bed. I cuddled her as we fell asleep. Lauren was a good friend of mine. She was a fan, and she and I were always talking about the latest TV shows and fan stuff. We were at a neat bar with live music that she was itching to go to, but none of her friends or Beau were interested. I took her with me that night. It was fun, and although we had flirted at work from time to time before, there was absolutely no chemistry between us as romantic partners. We had fun, but we were only friends. It was enough for both of us, and I got home early. I pulled up to the house and found the car parked in the driveway. My jealousy reared its ugly head for a moment, but I calmed down and repeated to myself that this is the way it's going to be. It doesn't make sense, does it? I learned this from my psychiatrist when I was being treated for my fear of flying. Instead of freaking out and screaming to myself, "Oh my God, I'm going to get on a plane," he had me change my tone to one of excitement and anticipation. "Oh my God, I'm going to get on the plane. I can't wait." It took some practice, but it tended to work in the short term. Not knowing what to expect, I repeated my mantra and opened the door to see Linda sitting and chatting with Carol, one of her friends. "Frank, I didn't expect you back so early." Linda? Carol? I nodded to them. Carol shot daggers from her eyes at me. She didn't say anything. Business ended early, so I came back. Would you like some privacy? Linda and Carol exchanged glances, and then Carol got up from the couch. I have to go now. Linda, I'll talk to you soon. Linda walked Carol to the door. Carol threw me a disapproving look, said nothing to me, and left. Sorry for barging in. I didn't mean to interrupt your evening, I told her. Don't be silly, Frank. This is your home, too. Home. When was the last time she or I called this house our home? Have you eaten? She asked me. She had leftovers from the meal she and Carol had obviously shared. I picked at the food while she did some cleanup in the kitchen. How are you? I asked. She sat up. I'm fine, I think. I invited Carol to talk, but she confused me even more. How? She wanted me to kick you out, change the locks, and divorce you. Well, my key still works, so I take it you didn't have time to call a locksmith? She laughed. Don't be silly. I had to explain to her that I was the one who asked for the divorce. After I told you that, what right do I have to you? I left you, didn't I? She looked intently into my eyes. That last part was a question she desperately wanted to know the answer to. I wanted to jump up and allay her fears, to tell her that I still belonged to her. But I didn't. I didn't say anything. In the past, my intentions would have repulsed her. Maybe this new relinquishment plan would have a different effect on her. By changing the subject, I blew the audience away. Bad news, I'm afraid. My date for tomorrow night has been canceled. Now I'm stuck with concert tickets. Maybe you'd like to go with me instead of another girl? His face brightened up. Oh, Frank, I'd love to. I mean, if that's what you want? I shrugged. Well, I could give these tickets to someone at work. No, she said firmly. I mean, I'd be happy to go. Happy to go with me? She blushed and nodded. Are you sure? I asked. Yes, she whispered. I smiled. This could be fun. I broke the news to Heather. She was disappointed, but such is life in the game called dating. Linda was dressed and ready to go when I picked her up after work. She looked good. She was dressed to impress. I'm pretty sure she was dressed to impress me. I didn't know too much about this group. Heather suggested I go to this concert, so I bought tickets. They were good. Loud, but good. I guess I wasn't surprised when we ran into Heather. I could see that Linda was surprised at how good Heather looked and quickly realized that Heather would be my date for tonight. I apologized to Heather, and she looked at Linda. "Heather, this is Linda." Linda. Heather was supposed to be my date for tonight, but something came up. Usually when I introduced Linda, I always referred to her as my wife. I decided not to do that this time, and Linda noticed right away. "Heather, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Mrs. Donaldson." She looked straight into Heather's eyes, and something happened between the two women. Heather was smart enough to apologize and said she would see me at work the next day. Linda was seething with anger. She grabbed my arm. "Frank, where's your wedding ring?" I shrugged. "At home. I took it off after you asked for a divorce. I don't need it now." Linda was speechless again. I had fun keeping her quiet. "Frank, we're not divorced yet." I smiled and concentrated on the music. Several times I stopped by the bar to refill our glasses again. Each time Linda watched me like a hawk. Every time I was at the bar, some woman came up to me and I chatted with her for a bit. I made one laugh, and she even slipped me her number. Linda saw the whole thing, but she didn't say anything. I'm not really a ladies' man. I can flirt a little, but I've always been respectful and never pushed anything. After Linda asked me for a divorce, I allowed myself to be free. I discovered that I had a rather crude flirting skill, and now that my restraint was gone, I found that I didn't need to hold back. I wasn't the prettiest guy around, but I always had the ability to be witty, and I found that women seemed to appreciate my humor and candor. Linda saw me in action for the first time in a long time. I think it surprised her, but she must have realized that long ago the same techniques, moves, and flirting had captivated her heart. Tonight, I think that's what she was remembering. She was silent all the way home. I was silent too. Once inside, we got ready for bed. "Frank, where's your wedding ring?" I pointed to the sock drawer in the dresser. She walked over and opened it. Reaching in, she grabbed the gold ring and pulled it out. She looked at it, then at me. The weight of the symbol touched her, and her eyes filled with tears. "It's yours now," I told her. "I think you should throw it away or sell it." She looked at me. "What should I do with it?" she stammered. "I think whatever you want to do with it. The ring is a symbol of our love for each other, of our marriage. At one point, it was a shield, a warning that its wearer was inaccessible to others. I highly doubt that most people appreciate and recognize what that symbol means. I know that for me, that ring helped me fight off other women. I was hoping your ring would do the same for you. Since you changed your mind about living with me, I don't think I need that symbol to protect me anymore. It only reminds me of what it once was." I looked her straight in the eye until she gave me the same look. "When the time comes, you will decide what to do with that ring." I walked over to her and interlocked her fingers around the gold bezel. She watched me and took charge. "Frank? I was just falling asleep when she called out to me. "Thank you for tonight. I enjoyed the concert and hanging out with you." "You're welcome." I drifted off to sleep again. In the morning, breakfast was waiting for me. Linda had made scrambled eggs and bacon. She was an excellent cook, and I appreciated her efforts. I noticed that Linda had not removed her wedding and engagement rings. I also saw that she continued to run her fingers over them as she ate with me. That morning, I received a phone call at work from Carol. "Carol, I'm surprised to hear from you. What can I do for you?" "Lunch today, 12:30 at Bohemia's." She disconnected, and I stared at the dead headset. I wasn't sure what to expect at lunch. I didn't know Carol very well. Linda had befriended her at work. She was pleasant to look at, but she was never very friendly with me. She was one of Linda's friends, with whom they often socialized. I walked into the bar I had invited Jessica to that first night. She was already seated at a table covered with a white linen tablecloth and waved me over. Her face was tense and sharp. This was probably not going to be a pleasant conversation. As soon as I sat down and my order was taken, Carol fixed her gaze on me. "What the hell are you talking about? Linda's in agony, and you pull this stupid stunt of seeing other women in front of her." I think I blushed for the first time. It was partly embarrassment, partly anger. I quickly closed my mouth before I said something I would regret later. I knew immediately that everything I said and did at lunch today would be reported to Linda immediately. She watched me while I regained control of my emotions. For a long time, I pondered how to respond. Finally, I spoke. "Carol, how much do you know about what's going on with Linda? I know that her husband is being a total asshole," she growled. The people around us looked in our direction. "Carol, cut the crap! Answer my question honestly and I'll answer yours. I have nothing to hide. And you?" Carol swallowed and was glad our waiter chose that exact moment to serve us our food. I sat and waited. "Linda is confused," Carol admitted. "So confused that she needs to date other men to sort out her thoughts?" Carol blushed and took a sip of water. "Linda had some weak moments, Frank." "I bet," I said sarcastically. "We were trying to help her figure things out," Carol replied. "You see, my dear Carol, this is where I make an exception. Why are you and your friends responsible for helping her sort things out between her and her husband?" Carol was silent. "In fact, why do you even care? Linda is my friend." "So," I said, "I'm supposed to be her best friend, her partner, her life partner. Don't you think if she had any problems, she should have talked to me first? Don't you think she should have come to me to straighten things out? Instead, she goes to her friends, who are apparently such good and responsible people that they take her to places where she can sort out her feelings with other men. Men who don't seem to care about kissing another man's wife." Carol turned slightly pale. No, she went very pale. She didn't seem to have much of an appetite right now. Somehow, Carol had opened the floodgates of rage in me. It was just another stupid, just friend who decided to stick her nose in other people's business. "Let me ask you something, Carol. Are you married?" She shook her head in the negative. "Have you ever been married?" Another shake. "Do you have a degree in counseling?" No. It's not. So what gives you the right to give someone marriage counseling? You've never been in a marriage, so how do you know what it is? What gives you the right to manipulate someone else's marriage?" She gasped. "But I'm her friend." Not from where I'm sitting. How many times have you spoken to me?" "Once or twice, as I recall. I've been married to Linda for 15 years. But when have you ever taken the time out of your life to meet, talk to, and get to know your friend's man and partner? I've been in her life for a full 15 years, so I know her like no one else. You talk about advice. You talk about helping her through this. But what do you know about me other than what Linda has told you from her perspective?" I felt like Carol was about to cry. I reached out to her as best I could now to get a message to her and through her to Linda. "Carol." Linda told me how she felt. She wanted a divorce, she told me, and I quote, "I don't love you anymore." Well, Carol, tell me, how should I respond to that? What possible argument can I give her to tell her she's wrong? Well, she's the one who wanted a divorce. Why should I be miserable, hoping she'll change her mind? I finished my drink. My food was half eaten, but I was done. I stood up and cast one last glance at Carol. I found that other women see something in me. My wife doesn't see that anymore. She pushed me away. I didn't push her away. I'm not going to undo my life because my partner is confused and doesn't want me anymore. I'm trying to move on. How she feels about it is her own business. I'm no longer trying to change her mind and tell her how she should feel. I can accept that now. With that last statement, I left before Carol could say anything else. I knew as soon as I left the restaurant she would be on the phone with Linda. At that moment, I had a lot to think about. I was going to see Janet this evening. Things went very well with Janet. Janet was different from the others. She was a black woman younger than me, but very beautiful and very attractive. We were very polite and cultured when she first joined our company, but a few months later there was a moment when I was telling a rather racy joke to some guys when Janet came into the room behind me to hear my rather vivid climax. The men around me noticed her, and all held their breath as I turned around to see her shocked face. I gave her a rather mischievous smile and said, "Admit it. It's both true and funny." She stood there for a moment with an expression of, "I can't believe that white boy just said that to me," and then laughed with me. From that point on, she was one of the guys, but by the end of my date with her, she was a real woman. Janet let me get further than I had on my other dates, and at the very last moment, I was the one to turn down her offer to stay the night. As much as I wanted to, there were issues with Linda that needed to be resolved before I could sleep with another woman. "Frank?" Linda asked as I settled into bed. "Yeah? Frank, I need you to take a shower." "Why?" It was dark. The lights were off, but Linda's voice was breaking. I could hear her sobbing. "Please, Frank. If you don't take a shower, then I'll have to ask you to go to the guest room to sleep," and I was confused. "What's going on?" I turned on the bedside lamp and saw my wife. Her face was red and her eyes were moist. She couldn't look me in the eye. "Please, Frank, you can go back to our bed, but I'm asking you to please take a shower." "What's wrong?" "I always shower in the morning, honey, you know that." She turned her back on me. She turned her whole body away from me. "You smell like her." "Oh!" I was wearing Janet's scent. Yes. I got out of bed. I felt lousy. I looked at her. She was still turned away from me. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize." "Look, if you want me to go to the guest room, I can do that." "No," she sobbed. "I want you to come back to our bed. Frank, I can't stand the fact that you're wearing someone else's scent. I just can't. I'm sorry. I want you in our bed. It's bad enough knowing you're seeing other people. Yay, I can pretend you're out with guys. I can ignore my friends telling me who they've seen you with. I can even meet them, like that girl Heather, and tell myself you're just friends. But now I know. I can smell her. I can tell. Yeah, I want you back in our bed, but only after you've showered. I can't stand the smell of her on you." I walked over to her side of the bed. I didn't linger. I leaned over and kissed her forehead. "I'm sorry. I wasn't very attentive. Let me take a shower and I'll go back to our bed." The next morning was Saturday, and I slept in. It had been a long week for me. Going out every night made me realize my age. I hoped I wouldn't come down with a cold or anything like that. Linda woke me up with breakfast. Then she asked me what my plans were. "I don't have anything for the weekend," I told her. "Frank?" I was still sitting at the kitchen table. "What?" "Frank." She stuck her hand in her pocket and pulled something out. She walked over to me and knelt down in front of me. She opened her palm, and inside I saw my wedding ring. Grabbing my hand, she looked up and down at me. "Frank, I want to work on our marriage. I think maybe I haven't thought this through." She carefully began to put the ring on my finger. I let her. "I still love you." She was on her knees waiting for me to say something. Finally, I spoke. "Is that really how you feel?" She nodded. "No divorce?" She nodded vigorously again. "What about other men?" "There's no one but you. That's all there is to it." Now came the most delicate part. You'll all probably think I'm mad about this, but I went ahead anyway. "You have to realize that I'm still going to be seeing other women from time to time." Linda swallowed. We sat like that for a long time. Our gazes met each other. Through this whole process, I had learned something about my wife. I was sure of the outcome. Finally, she nodded. "I suppose I shouldn't be surprised," she said. "I think I'm in love with you too," I told her. I grabbed her and kissed her. I kissed her hard. She kissed me back. Linda, as it turned out, had low self-esteem. I treated her well. Well, not exactly. Over the years, we'd grown apart. My biggest mistake was not recognizing how she felt. Every time she told me how she felt, I confronted her. Do you know how hurtful that is? How arrogant of someone to tell another person that what they are feeling is not true. All it did was build up resentment and hostility in her towards me. Over time, I got her to the point where she stopped appreciating what she had. In fact, maybe it was my fault. But over time, we changed. Well, she changed. I never changed. So why would I want to go back to who I used to be? I played a hunch. She wanted me back. But we'd both changed. Now she knew there were others behind the scenes, ready to replace her if she decided to go her own way. "Do you have to date others?" she whimpered. "I'm not going to date other men." I looked at her and smiled. "Yes, I will, from time to time. You may be my wife, but I am your husband. Don't forget that, and I won't forget about you." She smiled. Yes, she smiled. "Take me to bed and show me what I've been missing. Show me what all those other girls got from you." "Do you think you have what I need?" I asked. "I'll just show you my love, and maybe make you so tired that you won't have the energy left for any other woman." I picked her up in my arms and carried her into the bedroom. Somewhere along the way, she realized from my stamina that I hadn't slept with any of the other women. After 15 years, my wife knows what I can do in bed. She had an understanding smile for the rest of the day. I remained silent. What happened on my dates was a topic I didn't bring up. She didn't either. It was an episode in our lives best left in the past. For my part, I now didn't ask her about the men she kissed and talked to. My wife now looks at me with a certain amount of awe and respect. I never would have believed my plan would work. It wasn't a very good plan. At first, I was just too stubborn to give her the pleasure of seeing her destroy her husband with her hurtful words and request for divorce. When I saw how she reacted and accepted that I was seeing other women while she herself stayed home waiting for me, I pushed my plan further. I reclaimed her by detaching myself from her. What you don't have, you want most. What you have, you want the least. Those are the words I live by now. By freeing her and me, we are more together now than before. So do I date other people? I haven't had to do that yet. The first sign that Linda is getting back to her old self will lead to my next date. I know that. She knows it, and together we work together to not just listen to each other, but to hear the end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.